You are listening to Missed Apex Podcast. Welcome to the Missed Apex Podcast Miami Sprint Race Review. We are live in Haggerty Garage and Social, hosted by Box Car Club and supported by Global Poker, part of VGW and premium partner of Scuderia Ferrari HP. And I did a rain dance today and I got rain, so I get full credit for there finally being rain in Miami, but then there was too much rain.
It says certain people in the...
And so my co-host, who's brand new to podcasting apparently, is Matt Trumpets picking up the mic.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, no, certain people said there was too much rain, but certain other people didn't think so. And I think that's going to be kind of fun for us to talk about in a bit.
And at least there was some cover. So our kind of attendance and Grand Prix travel expert, Christina Lee Mace, is here as well. You tend to keep us shaded and me from getting lost, but we had some cloud cover today.
We did. We had cloud cover, but Matt and I were at the track, and we were seated at the marina, for anybody who knows where that is. It's the lovely curve going from 6, 7, and 8. We were up in row 21, which does have a cover over top of it. So no sun, no rain, dry seats, and there were individual buckets, not even just a bench that you have to hope that everyone's giving you your space on. You have designated personal space, and that is very important.
Yeah, but where are my cup holders?
Yeah, cup holders. That's the next, within the next, by 2041, you will have cup holders.
So wait a minute, it was wet and raining and cool. I could have just stayed in the UK. Come on, Miami. But I was really pleased for Miami, because certainly Andy was saying to me last year, really what Miami has been missing is a wet race to show some excitement. And the second the rain fell, I mean, we got that chaos. So one of the big problems is that F1 now won't race on the full wets. So as soon as Carlos Sainz put on the full wets, I thought, well, it's not going to be a cheeky alternate strategy because they just never get going when it's wet. It was like when Yuki Tsunoda went onto the wet tyre into Lagos last year, and then they pulled the safety car out. As soon as it's wet car conditions, they just don't want to go.
Yeah, but it wasn't really wet car conditions, and it was definitely not wet car conditions at the start of the race, at least at our turn. I was taking pictures and sending them to friends, and I was like, nah, man, sun is out, there's a breeze, it's drying. The track, you could see when the cars come around, you could see that they were leaving that dry line with the tires, and it really wasn't that much spray, even with the safety car coming around to check things out. But you know.
I mean, we were at a slow turn, so there was absolutely no spray coming up. But around, as you were going out of turn 8, you could see them just starting to kick it up like crazy. That was a lot of spray by the end of that.
In the olden days, and I'm older than I look, but in the olden days, you would have drivers going, yeah, come on, let's go, let's do this. Let's keep the rain going. I can't see anything, but I'm going to put my foot on the floor. What's that NASCAR quote? My foot on the floor until I see the checkered flag or see God.
Yeah. Well, you think that, but they played the radio on the broadcast of Piastri going, oh, I'm in second place and I can't see anything. I've never had visibility this bad. But I was looking at Lando's radio, and his quote to his engineer was, 2 more laps behind the safety car and we're fine. What's going on?
So you think it was tactical from Piastri?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because I watched last year at Silverstone, Kimi Antonelli win his first F2 race in an absolute deluge. And the drier the track is, the bigger the advantage the McLaren has over that Mercedes. So the more they could delay it and dry the track, the more it was going to favor Oscar. But it dried too much, and he ran into trouble.
What kind of trouble, Matt?
Oh,
okay.
Come on.
We need to set up the box guys who haven't seen this is, all I said pre-season was that Piastri seems to have this thing that in certain tyre management situations, his tyres drop off a cliff where some of the other drivers don't. And I made those predictions, and everyone called me a turnip for it. And I was so confident that we would see it at the beginning of the season, but we really haven't. And he's qualified well. We haven't had the tyre management races that I was looking for, but as because a lot of my internet reputation
He's
is
so excited because he's right.
And I was looking at it, I was going, intermediates though, these are the kind of situations, like this has got to be the situation, and it's 1 minute 40, 1 minute 40, and doggedly. And then there was one lap when Norris pulled away, dropped back a second.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, it's the opposite of what I said. You know, I have none of my reputation is based on being correct. I even say I might be wrong, but I'm first. But it would be nice to win the odd argument every now and then, wouldn't it? I lost that argument to you about tacos.
Yes, you did.
Because he said you've never had tacos before because you're an English idiot. And I was like, shut up. And then I ate tacos here in Miami last year, and I went, oh, no, I've never eaten tacos before. I feel like I talk about tacos and tequila too much on the pod. But anyway, Piastri, right, that gap, I thought, oh God, this is going to be yet more internet stuff coming at me. Then it happened. 40.6, 40.7. Those tyres were opening up and he was starting to go off a cliff. And by the time they changed tyres, Norris was gobbling him up.
Yeah, no, I think you were right. If they'd stayed on the inters, Norris had him. It was really, you could see it coming around the turn, how much better his car was performing. But the real problem was they'd hit the crossover. The slicks were the call at that point.
So, but if it had been a longer race, if it had been a longer race, you go, yes, Spanners, if it had been a longer race, it would have all played out and you'd have got all the internet points.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, you're right. You do get all the internet points because Norris had him.
Yeah.
And his own whinging about the visibility I know, it was an English word, excuse me. It cost him his shot at winning that race because he couldn't maintain the tires, but he was ahead, and then the safety car just absolutely obliterated him.
We're going to have to subject ourselves to some tyre chat here, aren't we? Matt, why was that the crossover point, and why couldn't Norris have stayed out for 4 more laps? Because I was watching the race with your wife.
Yes.
And you can vouch for how super calm I am watching an F1 race. Basically like a yoga guru. And I was going like, don't pit, stay out, you fool, why are you pitting? Because his advantage was that on the decaying inters, he was catching and would have passed Piastri eventually. Piastri also had to, oh sorry about the Piastri fans here at the front, apologies, they're holding their tongue, I can tell. But he also went off at the chicane. So if he'd have done everything he needed to do...
and gained an advantage, we can discuss that later.
Okay. So then that suddenly went away, but why couldn't Norris have stayed out? Why didn't someone try and make it work?
Well, I'm glad you've made this all about Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we had Tsunoda pit, and Tsunoda goes out on the slicks, and they're like, what is his pace? What is his pace? But at the same time, you had Lewis just absolutely miserable on his inters. And he's like, come on, guys. He's like, these tires are done. He says, it's got to be time for slicks. And they're like, Tsunoda pitted, and they're like, he's like, great. And they're like, fine, Lewis, we'll box you for the tires. And he comes in, and they're like, we're going to put you on the medium. He's like, no. You're putting me on the soft tire. So he goes out, he runs his outlap. Now, his outlap was a 155. Tsunoda's on the mediums was a 158. So he's
158?
He's already knocked 3 seconds right there. And his first timed lap, full timed lap on those soft tires was a 136 versus Norris, who, this is after Piastri pitted, versus Norris running a 142. For those of you who are math phobic, that's 6 seconds in one lap with 5 laps left. That's 30 seconds. That's enough to have caught and passed both of them if they stayed on the inters. And there wasn't a safety car, neither of which was true.
So more luck. Norris gets lucky again.
I mean, everyone has a day where they get lucky, and that's perfectly fine at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's better to be lucky than good, but I'm going to say I think Norris very much made his own luck today. I mean, I know people are Piastri fans, and I think he's an incredible driver, but he's not as seasoned a driver as Norris. Norris has been at the team, and this is something that's come up interestingly in the transition with Hamilton to Ferrari. There was a great interview with Carlos Sainz talking about the real difficulties with this regulation set and with changing teams like that. It's not a 5 or 6 race process like it used to be. It's much more complex and takes time. And he's Norris has been in that team, so every car change, all right, I'm going to use you own a car, right?
Yeah, it's nice.
Okay. You know, you own your car, and you have that friend you give a ride to, and then you give them a ride a year later, and they're like, what's that noise? And you're like, what noise? Because it came on so gradually you didn't notice it. Well, that's someone who's been in a team a long time. All those little changes, they navigate, and they just get better and better. And so when you're brand new to it, you have all of that catching up to do. And I think that's where Piastri is. He's very close, but he's still got a few tricks left to learn.
Speaking of brand new, Kimi Antonelli burst onto the scene after just 6 races. I think they said he was the youngest pole sitter in any race format in F1 ever.
He was, and to say that people trackside were excited about him would be a bit of an understatement. How many people cheered when he got pole that are here tonight? Yeah. Like, it was incredibly exciting. It's always really fun to see somebody hit a massive milestone like that. Definitely disappointing, though. Not surprising, but disappointing to see him completely bottle the start. I would have much preferred for him at least to get 1 or 2 good laps in and then drop down as I kind of would have expected, but...
Well, you say bottled it. We're going to get into some whose fault is it at the moment now. So, you know, you got Piastri down the inside. It was similar to what was happening with Verstappen. What would you have wanted to see him do?
At the end of the day, I would have wanted him to play it maybe a little bit more conservatively because it's his first race in a Formula One car on pole. Not just on pole, but more specifically, it's his first time in an F1 car in the wets. A lot of pressure being on pole. He does have a clear track ahead of him, but it's a new track for him. There's so many variables. I think it would have been a bit better for him to take it a little bit more cautious, which is counterintuitive to a Formula One driver. It's never going to happen. But
I think you're saying,
wisdom.
I'm with you. You're saying he could have lost 1 place instead of losing 4 or
exactly.
whatever he did. Yeah.
And then he could try and get it back later once the track dried up a little bit. It's that little bit of forethought. He'll get that with age. He's 18 years old. My goodness, 18 years old.
That's how I feel talking to you, and you have that about Antonelli. But yeah, so he did the thing that Verstappen did at the beginning of the last race, again against Piastri. Again, Piastri starts really well, but now they're trying to dive out of the way and hope for a penalty. So this is like watching like 90s Italian football, where they're just falling around all over the place and then appealing to the referee afterwards.
Yeah, well, you know, with all due respect to Cristina and her sensibility, I would have loved to have seen him gone to the edge of the track and just kept his wheels there and said, if you're going to hit me, you're going to hit me.
And how did that work out for Alonso?
Oh, it worked out terribly for Alonso.
Okay, so look, let's do our first, whose fault is it? All right, so we had Alonso and Lawson, and I think that is the example you're pointing to, where Lawson basically stayed in his line. So they went off track together. Lawson felt he should have had room. Alonso disagreed, pushed him off track, and then actually Alonso went a little bit more off track and they made contact. Okay, so in that situation, we're going to ask, whose fault is it? So, who thinks it's Lawson's fault in that situation? Is that it? Honestly?
Make some noise for our audio podcast if you think it's Lawson's fault.
Okay, for our audio, very few people are correct in this case. Hands up if you think that was Alonso's fault. Right, so you have no opinions then. You stay quiet. Okay, so most people do think it's Lawson's fault and he's a bit of a weapon. But I think these new racing rules are impenetrable, just from a viewing point of view.
No, they're really stupid. It's... I swear... A board game company would not put out a game called F1 with these current regulations because they're so unsensible. Like, it's just baffling how you want them to race wheel to wheel, and yet you're not giving them any rules that actually permit them to be wheel to wheel. It's like you have to get ahead, and then if you're ahead, you get the position, as opposed to giving them space to race, and it just... So it's endlessly frustrating.
They've said, right, whoever's ahead at the apex in these ways that we'll spell out, that's the end of the competition.
Yes.
So then the other one of you just get out of the way. So instead of having some people racing side by side through that whole section, what we got was a contact and then a red flag that actually ended the race. But I can read them if you want, if anyone doesn't know these, because I didn't know these till last week. So last year, there was guidelines on the inside car, and they said the overtaking car has to be at least alongside, so apex, whoever's ahead by the apex makes it to the corner. Here, I don't know if you'd quite figured this out, but the inside car only has to be front axle to mirror to own the corner if they're overtaking. But did you also know that the overtaking car on the outside now also has a set of rules? So the overtaking car still only has to be ahead at the apex level if they're on the outside. Like, do you know what I mean? That's baffling.
Well, it's ridiculous, and as Cristina accurately points out, it leads to terrible racing. The rules should be very simple. Whoever leaves the least amount of room when there's a contact, that's whose fault it is.
That's what it used to be when it was really F1.
There you go.
Oh, we've got an olden days person. In the olden days.
The screaming V12s, the 3-liter screaming V12s V10s that everybody wanted and still wanted to come back. That's all I'm saying.
So he said, okay, who wants V10s back?
Hell yeah.
Oh, look at you. Oh my God. In my day, there were no health and safety. We'd send them up mines, we'd send them up chimneys, and some of them came back. Tell you what, we're going to have a Things You Reckon. So if you want to say bring back V10s or something in the Things We Reckon segment later on, then absolutely go for that. But yeah, disappointing overall that Kimi Antonelli couldn't do a little bit more to stay in that fight. And actually, once he jumped out of the way, I don't think he could keep it on the track. Like, he left it far too late.
Essentially, yes. He ended up in a part of the track that was not dry at all. At least everybody else were able to get their tires onto that little bit of a dry line from those couple of formation laps. But poor Kimi, he was just off in a puddle and then stuck there.
Cold tires. Yeah, no, Piastri took him to school, but as he's demonstrated by his performance already this weekend, he's a pretty fast learner. I don't expect that to happen again.
I've got since we're on Mercedes, I've got an early candidate for my Missed Apex Award, and it's George Russell's overhyped thing. When Antonelli went and got the pole, Russell was waiting there with his like, oh, how can I make this about me moment. He did though, didn't he? And then, like, as he went over and he did the tap on the head. Oh, I'm so gracious in defeat, and I wasn't trying to get pole anyway. I'm set out for the race or whatever.
Yeah, no, George has had not the greatest weekend. He's not been easy with the car, and Antonelli seems to have unlocked it, at least in these conditions in this kind of a track.
But the waste is, and I've been praising Russell the whole time, but he does do those histrionics. So he does know that the camera's on him, and he is playing to that. I won't bring up the Joe Guan Yu incident again at Silverstone.
Oh, you mean the one at Silverstone?
Yeah, I got hammered for that, but I was like, oh, come on. He was doing it in slow-mo when he was running across. I'm sure he was concerned, but it did look a bit for the cameras. But I've been praising him for his race pace, and his race pace was really good this weekend. So you have to be brutally honest and say, Antonelli could put it on pole, therefore he's missed an opportunity to win that sprint race.
Oh yeah, absolutely, no one can argue. But at 18 and with his first pole ever, also not surprising. I know it took Max a few races to win too, didn't it?
I don't remember so much leeway being put on, and you're doing it as well, like, oh, they're 18, bless them. They'll get it eventually. I don't remember drivers getting that kind of leeway. Oh, bless him, he's only a little pup.
To be fair, he may be 18, but he's also in his first season of F1. The fact that he's 18 is more so everyone, I think, existentially going, oh gosh, what was I doing at 18? Oh my goodness. But it really is just his 6th race weekend in F1. Like, we can rephrase it that way if it would tickle your fancy a little bit more. Of, oh my goodness, it's just his 6th race weekend, instead of continuously pointing out he's 18. But
I've got teenagers, and I don't want to afford them that amount of slack. I just want to be, you've had everything handed to you, just get on with it. Gymnastics, they don't do that. They don't go, oh, bless her. Oh, she's only little, because they're all young. All right, fine. You want to give Antonelli a bit more of a chance. We can go to the opposite end of the age spectrum if you want. Any Lewis Hamilton fans here? Okay, that's not quite enough. And what are you doing with this nearly? You've got a Ferrari hat on. It's a Tifosi. We were meant to merge, Armando. We're meant to be best friends, like that movie Stepsons or whatever. He was the Death Star. Sir, Ferrari are the Death Star. Schumacher nearly turned me off Formula One forever. I am not having Lewis being the Death Star. Lewis was the goodies. The Stormtroopers, right? Who was the goodies? The Jedi. I knew that. Lewis is the Jedi. I didn't know I'd have to research Star Trek. But look, there was a journalist.
Did you just say Star Trek instead of Star Wars?
Oh, crap. Are there any nerds in the house? Yeah, all of you lot. No, look, Lewis Hamilton, I won't call out the journalist because this journalist has dropped into my DMs a couple of times to tell me off, but he called Lewis Hamilton's position at Ferrari untenable last week. And this is just how ridiculous the media is being, firing up, generating clicks on Lewis adjusting to that Ferrari. Now, I'm disappointed in the Ferrari performance, but you can't call it untenable when he's got a sprint win, a sprint pole, and now a sprint podium.
No, you can't. It's simply the high cost of switching teams at that age, honestly.
Oh, so now we're giving old people, like, oh... So if you're young, we can't judge you.
Of course we're giving old people a pass.
I give you no slack, and you're super old. Yeah, no, I know. He's obviously still got something, because he can turn up and get these results. Like, you've been judging old people all weekend, so don't even act innocent.
I would never speak ill of the elderly.
Don't say elderly.
You were complaining about your knees.
They've had a hard time. They've had a hard life.
Oh, no, but it's been about a quarter of a season. Like, this is around the point where I think we can start taking a look at Lewis and Ferrari and getting an idea of where they will end up and when it'll come together. My opinion of Lewis has always been, you know what, yes, he's going to take time to get used to being in Ferrari, but will it take less than the average driver? Absolutely. He's Lewis Hamilton. But we're still in an adjustment period, and it's frustrating, it's annoying, but there it is. We have to be patient.
Sorry, I was just getting a tequila order in, and I wasn't listening to what you said. There's a tequila bar here. Is that Matt wants one as well?
It's been a long day at the track.
We definitely want Andy and Ewer's opinions when we come to the... And in fact, we're going to get a safety car opinion from Ewer in a minute as well. But what was the reaction like when Leclerc had his off on track? Leclerc fans, sorry. Leclerc fans. Yeah, that's the only thing you've had to cheer about for the whole day. Yeah, and what was the crowd reaction like to that?
It was kind of hard to tell because everyone's faces were already wet, so you couldn't tell the difference between tears and rain. But I think the ratio was pretty high.
So there was a meme, the Simpsons meme, where was it Milhouse says to Bart, like, this is where I come to cry, and it was Leclerc showing Lewis. But that was a bit of a tactical error as well. Lewis was really unhappy, saying, why have you sent us out on inters when it's aquaplaning conditions?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's more of an error of Leclerc booting it down that straight when he didn't really need to be. But the thing that strikes me about this, with the two of them, there was, definitely people are Leclerc fans. They were unhappy. But it's the car, this regulation set is very narrow in how you can drive a car successfully. And everybody forgets, we've switched to 18-inch tires from the 13-inch tires with the bigger sidewalls, and that has completely changed the feedback drivers get from the cars. And last of all, and I know I was talking about this, so if I already talked about it with you, you can just be bored. But he's on different brakes now.
They're Missed Apex listeners who came here voluntarily. They're going to listen to your tire talk. It's fine.
He switched to different brakes, and he's unhappy with them. They don't perform. He's on the Brimbos now, I believe. He was on the Carbon Industries previously. So if you're not comfortable with the car and the brakes, you don't brake as hard. If you don't brake as hard, you don't generate the temperature. If you don't generate the temperature, the tire doesn't stay in the window as well. When the tire's not in the window as well, you get inconsistent performance, and you lose confidence, so you brake even less, generate less temperature. It's a vicious cycle that drivers get into, and I think he and Ferrari are trying to work their way through getting him into the place where he can use the car to its potential. And sometimes they get close and we get a sprint win or a podium, and sometimes, like We definitely do not get close. And then, once again, Spanner's hopes and dreams are dashed.
I know, and also I'm going to argue with myself because no one disagreed with me. I was like, oh, okay, that's unusual. So, also, the Hamilton master strategy, I know a lot has been made of that was his tyre call to go onto the softs. And if the safety car hadn't come out, some people think there was a win on the cards. But I do also have to point out that the reason he probably pitted so early and it was such an easy decision is because he was slow as hell on those inters. And it's so disappointing. As a Hamilton fan, you remember that Silverstone race, I think it might have even been last season, where on the inters... Huh?
It was.
Yeah, well, on the inters, he was just tearing everyone apart. And actually, those dry times where it was drying up gave everyone a chance. But every time everyone else's inter opened up, he was catching up. And eventually he goes on to win that race, which Drive to Survive said was the George Russell race. I'm still not over that at all. And people said that, it was just because Lando Norris made the wrong tyre decision. But to see him in these conditions, you go, these are Lewis Hamilton conditions. And quite frankly, he was well off the pace. We didn't have Leclerc to compare it to. But the reason it was such a no-brainer was because he had no pace, and he's had no pace for the last few races.
He had no pace because the track was too dry for enters because somebody complained about the visibility and they waited too long, and then the enters wouldn't last the whole race. If they had started the race on time, which every thinking person agrees they should have.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Or what, you don't like safety? You don't like people living?
If they'd started the race on time, I think we would have seen Lewis shining on those tires.
Martin Brundle, I caught on the Sky commentary, said, we'd have had no hesitation racing in the 80s. But people died fairly often back then racing. So I'm a bit reminiscent to put too much pressure on them to go racing when it's wet and they can't see, or am I being too much of a Gen X? I don't know.
I think in this particular case, it wasn't so much that the track was wet, it's that everything was damp. And that's a very different set of conditions, it being wet versus just the track is actively drying and there's some puddles, but not actually that many. I don't think it was wet enough for them to be like, no, we're not going to race.
That's a good impression of them. That's what they were all doing.
Tap water.
That's what they were doing. And then they finished the race under a safety car. And I know one particular Finnish American who is very angry about that. Jua from Box Auto, why don't you come up and talk to us about the safety car?
Who loved seeing that race end under a safety car? Boo, nobody. What is going on with this? This is entertainment, guys. We need to see the race finish under green. How slow were those guys taking Alonso's car off, first of all? I've never seen tractor move at that pace. But for real, why can't there be a rule where we can add 2 racing laps, or maybe we don't run 3 laps for nothing behind the safety car and get this race done?
Is this a popular opinion here in Miami?
Yeah, let's go, guys. This is ridiculous. I want my money back.
You're all crazy. This is an American thing, right? You guys can't stand a draw. And are we watching Xfinity?
It wasn't a draw. It was a free win for Norris.
Okay, so
let's go.
Christina, last year at Watkins Glen, and we were watching the Xfinity race, and they had triple overtime, and it was murder.
Oh my goodness. I wanted to go home. I was tired. And I had drank, for one, that was the best lemonade I've had in a hot minute. The last 2 lemonades I've had over these weekends were way too sweet and syrupy. There was
Watkins
no
Glen had it, yeah.
Watkins Glen was great, and it had the lemonade that was about as big as my head.
And she's talking about non-tequila lemonade as well, which apparently exists.
It does. It was fantastic. But what were we talking about before the lemonade?
The triple overtime.
Oh, triple overtime, right. It was really long, and it was really confusing for one. I didn't realize for a red flag that they would stop on track. So a little bit of confusion there.
Yeah.
But it did just pull things on and on and on. The frustration that you feel at a race start being delayed is nothing compared to after you've watched a race, you're ready for it to be done, you've scheduled yourself for, I don't know, tears or victory, whatever it is, depending on who you're following. And you just can't go home because it's not done because they want to keep going.
At what point, though, Jua, you have to say that, at what point do you just end it and say that it's over? There's got to be some delineation point.
I think he has a point.
Go on then.
I think he's a very good
you're American
point.
as well. You're part of the issue. Look,
no, I'm part of the solution, my friend.
It was our sport in Europe, and we were happy to finish under the safety car. We were happy to not have any overtaking, because it was the 90s, F1. And you've come in and gone, no, now you need like a 2-lap shootout.
Yeah, and you're happy to eat porridge and yes, may I have another
beans on toast?
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. No, I think there is a happy middle ground here. But the issue is the way the regulations are written is they're interlocking. So if you just had full control of the race, you could have seen the Alonso crash. It would have been a lap. You call your safety car and your marshal says it's going to take us 10 minutes to clear this. And you're like, okay, that's all the available laps I have left in the race. And you say, okay, we're going to red flag it. But the problem is when you red flag it, there's a whole series of already written regulations that add time and complexity. People can put new tires on. We don't want that. What we think is the practical solution is, okay, red flag it, everybody in the pit lane, nobody touches the cars. The moment the car is cleared, they follow the safety car out, the safety car comes into the pit lane, and then the remaining laps get raced under a green flag. It's a simple solution, but it's problematic because it's not written into the regulations to give the race director that kind of flexibility.
The real simple solution, though, is if there's 18 laps and there's a safety car on lap 17, and then you're there still going around when it gets to lap 18, that's just the end of the race.
Was it lap 17?
I don't know. It was
lap 14.
14.
Yeah, so there was enough laps.
Yeah, there was. But then like, when Alonso crashed, in my mind, in old money in Formula One, I can do the conversion and go, oh, that's how the race ended.
And
Great.
look at me.
Now I'm off to eat some chips and gravy.
But look at me. Even though I'm old, I can adapt to new things. It's just a way the world works.
I don't want to.
And I will bring up something else that you probably didn't know. We were complaining about the delayed start. A big part of that delay was Red Bull insisting that the full 10 minutes or whatever it is with an aborted start or suspended start procedure be observed by the FIA. They actually were trying to start it sooner, but Red Bull was like, no. We rang them up and told them that was unacceptable. So this is the kind of thing I'm talking about, where these rules exist, and if any single team thinks it's to their advantage, they'll insist that the full time be weighted.
All right, that's been our race review, but I think we'll end it by doing some awards brought to you by Global Poker. And I'm going to ask you, Matt.
Oh, gosh.
For you, what was the thing of the weekend? And I don't know why it took us so long to say this, but who hit the apex for you?
Who hit the apex for me?
It's the opposite, isn't it, of the thing?
No, we're starting with a good thing. Honestly, of all the amazing things I've seen this weekend, Antonelli and his pole lap was that is the big story this weekend, no matter what else happens.
Go and follow Matt Trumpets by going to MattPT55 on Twitter and Blue Sky.
Twitter, Blue Sky, most of your socials you can
But
find.
the most important thing to go and click links in our show notes is so that you can go and buy Matt's wife's book. Amanda Weaver is here in the house. And so those of you who don't know, she writes smutty books about F1. So it's like ladies just going like, ooh, look at him in his race car. Ooh, core. And it's that kind of thing, isn't it?
Exactly like that.
Yeah, that's exactly like that. So go and click on those links in the show notes below, and we'll ask Christina Lee Mace, who hit the apex for you?
In the sprint race, Tsunoda got a better result than Verstappen.
Get in. Come on, Yuki. Now, hang on. It's a missed apex audience. We might have loads of Verstappen fans. Have we got any Verstappen fans at all? You're pretending.
Oh, come on. It's all good. No judgment.
Yeah, it's a safe place. We listen and we judge a little bit, but not so much that it ruins your night. Go and follow Christina Lee Mace on TikTok with over 120,000 followers. I don't know where that's come from. I mean, your talent. That's what it is. So go and follow at Christina Fast Cars.
No, it's just my name now, Spanners. I changed it. Sorry.
Christina Lee Mace. Who hit the apex for me? Spanners. Oh, yeah, Spanners. I want to hear your opinion. I think I am going to give it to... Can I give it to Lewis for a podium, please?
Yes.
Even though I know I was super critical of the pace on the intermediates, but still, he bolted the softs on, and he went and chased it down, and he went and got a podium. And where can we follow you, Spanners? You're the best one. Oh, yeah. Follow me on Blue Sky by searching for Spanners Ready. I'm still on X, because people will yell at me there. And follow me on Instagram, where you can see me being an influencer yesterday. I did my first fit check of my outfit, which I got from a box, and my sunglasses from a drugstore.
And he tried to hold the camera steady and was mostly successful.
And my dad pants. I mean, that's a good fit check, isn't it? Miami dad pants. There you go. And we'll end on a negative today. So, Matt, who missed the Apex for you? That's the name of the show. You can point.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Jeez. Who missed the Apex? It was so much good stuff that happened today. I hadn't really thought about the bad stuff. But give me a minute. Oh, wait. Oh, it's Alonso.
Because we never normally do this, do we?
It's Alonso. That, I know we didn't really do a whose fault is it, but that was an entirely self-inflicted disaster by Alonso.
Kyle has been ranting in our WhatsApp about how that was Alonso's fault. I think technically it's Lawson's fault, but what Kyle is saying is when you've got a weapon like Lawson on your right-hand side, just get out of the way and just give him enough room.
Well, I mean, Lawson was fully off track. I mean, he had driven off the track to avoid Alonso, who was trying to squeeze him, and then Alonso just tried to cut more of the curb. And if you look at the exit, which I think most people had, and if you look at the exit, the wall comes right back out. There's not really much else place for Lawson to have gone, even if he was on the brakes and slowing down. Alonso just kept on piling over.
For the record, I think he could have...
Why would you do that with Lawson behind you?
I mean, Lawson could also have not rejoined the track and clattered
He
Alonso
wasn't
off.
rejoining the
He
track.
was
This is my
rejoining the track.
argument. No, he was not.
Run the tape.
He was
Run the
not.
tape on the thing.
I did.
Oh.
I had a long journey on I-95 to run the tape.
Christina, who missed the Apex for you?
The Ferrari livery.
Oh.
Well done. You win.
Can I just remind you of our sponsor for this weekend, please?
You can, but they're not the ones that made the livery.
I think the Scuderia Ferrari HP logo was great. And does anyone want to chip in for this trip? Because I think we need the money now. It was a little bit hack and slash, maybe, to try and get their sponsor's image across.
It definitely was not cohesive in a way that you would like it to be.
They should have just gone all blue and white Ferrari.
Yes, that would have been very desirable. That would have looked very nice.
The
It's
yellow.
Miami. Give
We
the blue.
talked about this. They should have done the yellow with the blue and white.
The yellow would have been gorgeous. At the end of the day, there's just a lot of more cohesive, nice ways they could have done it. The race suits were gorgeous. I was very happy with the race suits. I thought those were lovely. But the livery, did not love.
All right, I'm going to give up my Missed Apex Award to the audience. Has anyone got a Missed Apex Award they want to go for? Has anyone else got a positive? Go on, then we're into it now. Positive or negative?
Negative. The fact that lap one rule is different than all the other laps makes it very confusing for drivers.
So you think they should penalise them the same on lap one as for anything else? Fair enough. Who else have we got? Okay, cool. What's your name? Jennifer, are you going to be positive or negative?
Positive.
Yep.
Isaac's been doing really well for a rookie, and he has a really good internet presence. So props to him.
Fair enough, because he does internet good. Fair enough. Have we got time for a couple more? Anyone else? All the way. You're making me do cardio here in sprints. All right. What's your name? Eric. Eric, positive or negative?
Positive.
Okay.
Let's be Lance Stroll. Does absolutely nothing, scores points.
Fair enough. Why is Lance Stroll getting so much love here? All right, time for one more. Anyone else, positive or negative? Oh, we used them all up. Okay, fantastic. We ended on Lance Stroll getting the Hit the Apex Award. Okay, in that case, look, for you here, we are going to be carrying on with the things you reckon, but for the people at home, we'll see you for the race review released Monday morning, hopefully before your morning commute. Until then, work hard, be kind, and have fun. This was Missed Apex Podcast. Thank you, Miami.